Hi guys, it's Carol. How are ya? I am pretty good. I'm pretty good. Uh, March was just not a good month for me. I was just sick and then sick and then sick. Um, I was having trouble with my asthma. Um, the stomach flu went through my family, my daughter-in-law, my son, my grandson, me, a couple of times. We kept giving it to each other. Um, and because I tended to barf up everything, my medicine got all out of whack, and then my depression got really bad, and March was just not a pleasant month for me. But I'm okay. It's life as I've known it for decades now. I mean, it's just how it is. It is what it is. But I'm fine. Uh, in March, a lot of you left wonderful comments. And I try to always respond in some way to every comment. I try to leave you a message back. But in March, I just couldn't do it for, I don't even know what video I did that had comments and suggestions and things. And I kept thinking, I'm going to go answer those. I'm going to go respond. And then I just couldn't. So I finally just went and hearted everything. And I apologize for doing that. I did read your comments probably numerous times. I just wasn't up to answering them. And I do everything on my phone. And so typing on my phone, if I'm not well, I threw up on my other phone and ruined it. So I kind of was cautious this time when I was sick. I kind of kept the phone away from me. And in hindsight, back when I told you I had food poisoning, I'm wondering if I just hadn't picked up this stomach virus then, and it's just perpetuated in our family this long, because that was in February. But anyway, I'm fine. I'm fine. It'll take a little while for me to get my medicine back in me and get my brain chemicals straightened out, but yeah, that's what it is. Anyway, I'm back now. I hope to be doing videos on a more regular basis. I do appreciate your comments. Please don't stop leaving them. Oh, and I have to apologize to one of you, and I don't even know who. At just about my sickest point, one of you sent me a wonderful email. Actually, about 4 of you did, and I answered one last night. That's how far behind I am. But at my sickest point, I got this email from several of you, and I just could not answer you, because to type a response to an email, it's going to be long, and I do it on my phone, and I didn't want to throw out my phone, and I just couldn't stand to look at the screen. Actually, just looking at the screen at times was just too much. I stayed dizzy a lot. Well, anyway, I need to apologize to one of you. You sent me a wonderful email. It was like getting a letter, which I love. All my life, I was a letter writer until email. But one of you told me you were getting new living room furniture, and I really wanted to respond to that email, and I cannot find it. I thought I starred it. I star a lot of emails that I know I'm going to come back and want to see. But last night I went to check my starred emails, and there was only 3 things in there, and none of them were in personal email. I don't know where my starred things went. I thought they weren't supposed to get trashed, but anyway, I apologize to whoever you are that sent me that email about you were getting all new living room furniture. If you're still here, please send me that email again. I really want to read it again, and I really want to respond to it. Okay, I do. Whew. Okay, what I'm going to do today for a video is, way back several weeks ago, Vicki over at Living in the Moment did a tag. And then she tagged me to do it amongst some other people. And I told her, sure, I'd do that tag. So here we go. It was answering 12 questions. It was a tag called Gail's Questions 22. Vicki didn't know why it was Gail's Questions 22 when there was only 12. Neither do I, but we'll do the 12 that we know about. Okay, the first question is, name your 2 favorite ice cream flavors. Well, I love ice cream. It's hard to pick out a favorite. I really like it's cherry chocolate chunk ice cream. Love that. I also really love Bluebell strawberries and cream. Although anybody's strawberries and cream is good. But those are my 2 favorite. I also really like homemade vanilla. So I think it's Bluebell makes one that's a blackberry cobbler ice cream. It's blackberry cobbler and vanilla ice cream. Oh, it's really good. But most often I get cherry chocolate chunk or strawberries and cream. Number 2, what is your favorite flower? Rose, I think. I love all flowers. That's like, most of these questions was like picking out which is your favorite child. I love all kinds of flowers, but roses are gorgeous. I love the smell of roses when they smell. And roses, I really like pale butter yellow is my favorite, or a pale pink, or a pretty red. I don't like the really dark, almost black red ones, but white roses, I like flowers. Any rose will be fun. In fact, it's the normal or the average date of our last frost for the springtime is April 18th. So it's time for me to start planning my patio, what I'm going to put out there, and I'm really excited. If you could have any animal for a pet and cost isn't a factor, what would you have? Well, this is going to sound really lame, but I'd have a cat. My daughter's cat Amos died in January or February. I think it was in February. It just broke our hearts because he was fine one day until he wasn't, and he wasn't an old cat. We don't know what happened to him. But anyway, I would like to have a cat, except I have to have 2 of everything. I think if I had one cat, I think it would need another of its own kind to talk to. If I were younger, of course I would want a horse. Doesn't every girl want a horse? I've wanted a horse all my life. But I can't see me getting on a horse right now. and can't have a horse in an apartment. So, favorite meal, number 4. What is your favorite meal to fix for company? Most often, I make lasagna, homemade lasagna, and a salad and green beans. I like to make lasagna. 5, favorite movie of all time. You've Got Mail. Because, I love books. I love libraries. I love bookstores. You've Got Mail. She has her mother's bookstore. I would have loved to own that bookstore. Casey and my daughter Becky, we all 3 would love to have owned that bookstore. So that number 1 was the bookstore. I really like Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks, and I just love that movie. Okay, number 6, favorite book. Again, that's like, choosing your favorite child. You just can't do it. I'm going to say The City Baker's Guide to Country Living and Late Bloomers Club, which are 2 books written by Louise Miller. Those were her first 2 books. I don't think she's ever written another one. She's a wonderful author. I wish she had. In fact, I sent her a message and said, please. I told her I was in worked in a library for 20 years. I know a good book when I see one, and you have written a wonderful book, and please write more. And it's not like this is an earth-shattering, going to win the National Book Award book or anything. It was just one that I could really relate to. The City Baker's Guide to Country Living. She is a professional baker, and she's carrying this flaming dessert into a big banquet hall, and it's been years since I've read it. She either trips and catches the tablecloths on fire or the draperies. Somehow she burns the place down with her dessert. I just can relate to, I can see that happening. I loved this story. Now, the City Baker's Guide to Country Living and Late Bloomers Club are about the same people. So when you read one, and then later you're reading this other book, you say, oh, I know who that is. Yeah, I like that. Anyway, number 7, favorite fictional character. No doubt it is Anne of Green Gables. Anne Shirley is her name. Anne would say, we are kindred spirits. Anne Shirley is my favorite fictional character. Which means I probably should have had the book Anne of Green Gables as my favorite book and my favorite movie. Let me tell you about Anne of Green Gables. First of all, it was written by Lucy Maud Montgomery. I should have looked up when it was first published, but a long time ago. And it was published under L.M. Montgomery because she needed to appear to be a man to get a book published. This was way back in the day. So Lucy Maud Montgomery. When I read Lucy Maud Montgomery's biography, I thought, well, there's a lot of Anne in her. And I just adored her. I adore Anne and the fictional character, and I adored what I read about Lucy Maud. In fact, for decades, I've always said, when I get to heaven, I'm looking up Lucy Maud Montgomery. We're going to be fast friends. We're going to be kindred spirits. And the movie I love, now that is a movie I really love too, but only the Anne of Green Gables movie that was made or released in 1985. That's the only one. That one, the characters captured the essence of the person they were playing, the actors. Megan Follows played Anne. She was Anne. She was Anne. Marissa is the older woman that ends up adopting Anne. She was played by Colleen Dewhurst. Colleen Dewhurst was Marissa. She brought her to life as perfectly as possible. Marissa has a brother named Matthew. Matthew was played by, oh my gosh, Richard Farnsworth. Does that sound like a name of an actor? Anyway, he was absolutely perfect. Whoever played Gilbert was perfect. Whoever played her best friend, I've forgotten her name, was perfect. Whoever did the casting for that 1985 release of the movie Anne of Green Gables aced it. Now, when I worked at the library, I worked in the children's department, I would tell people, read this book, read Anne of Green Gables. It's one of a series, anyway. But I would say, read this, then go over to the DVD section and get the movie. The movie is that good. It follows the book that closely. Very seldom would I ever tell anybody that I was handing out books to at the library, would I say, oh, you need to watch the movie. I didn't do that. But I did that for Anne of Green Gables and only one other book, Sarah Plain and Tall. Sarah Plain and Tall, the movie is also a series, and I liked those. But anyway, if you're going to watch Anne of Green Gables, please, in my humble opinion, just don't even bother with the other ones. Find the 1985 release where it's Megan Follows, Colleen Dewhurst, and I think Matthew's, the actor who played Matthew was Richard Farnsworth, I think was his name. You know, it's like, oh, they made one where Martin Sheen was Matthew. No, don't even go there. Stop. No, he was not Matthew. It's like the Anne of Green Gables version of the movie I'm telling you about with Megan Follows is like a wonderful sirloin steak. You can have that, or there's several others, but I would consider them more Vienna sausages. Not to insult any of those actors. It's just that the actors chosen for that version, 1985, were perfect. They brought their characters to life as Lucy Maud Montgomery would have wanted them to be, I feel. Some people tell me I'm a little opinionated. I don't know where they get that. Number 8, favorite things to grow in the garden. Tomatoes. I love tomatoes fresh off the vine. Oh my gosh, there is nothing better to me than a fresh tomato. I would eat tomatoes every single day if I could, and I practically do now. You know, but the ones we buy in the store are nothing compared. Talking about sirloin and Vienna sausages, that's kind of like how a fresh vine-ripened tomato is to what we get in the store. But tomatoes, I love tomatoes. And if I could have a garden, that's what And several of you say, why don't you try to grow vegetables on your patio? I live in an apartment. I have. I've lived in an apartment since Taylor was about 10. So for 9 years, I planted tomatoes. I have tried to grow tomatoes. I've tried to grow zucchini. I've tried to grow yellow squash. I've tried to grow peppers of all kinds. I've tried to grow green beans. I have tried to grow things on my patio, and for me, it just doesn't work. Probably because when I was in an upstairs apartment, I had a roof over my balcony, and down here my patio has a roof over it, and so we don't get sun anywhere all day long. Where I live, and it's extremely hot, and so it's kind of difficult to grow things in a pot because they dry out so quickly. Where I live in the summer, 90 to 104 or 5, 8 is what this temperature is going to be. I mean, if we had a 90-degree day in the summer, we'd think a cool front came through. I mean, we have hot weather, and where I live, it's very dry and windy, so things growing in a pot dry out quickly, and I've just never had any luck trying to grow anything in a pot on my patio. But if I could, I would grow tomatoes. I would have my patio covered in tomato plants. 9, what seed do you want to buy for your garden? Okay, the 10 years I've lived in an apartment, I've tried to grow heavenly blue morning glories. When I lived in a house, I had a fence that was a chain link fence covered in heavenly blue morning glories. I mean, it was so beautiful when they bloomed in the morning. Cars would stop and gather seeds. And after the first year, it just reseeded itself. You know, if you once get them going, they reseed themselves. In fact, they're considered a weed in a lot of places, and they're poisonous to cattle, so I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I think they are poisonous to cattle. Anyway, all these 10 years, I've tried to grow heavenly blue morning glories in a pot. I've gotten, if I get them to even grow, I have the green leaves, but never a bloom. And I think maybe it's because I have to plant things in potting soil, and so it feeds the vine and it does never make a bloom. I don't know. On the internet, I've seen hanging baskets of heavenly blue morning glories where they're in a pot and they hang down and they're gorgeous. I can't get it to do. But I will try again this year. Question number 10. Top 3 activities you look forward to this coming year. I tell you, I was already in the pit of depression where I'm just for my new subs, I when I say I'm depressed, I don't mean I'm sad. I mean, my clinical diagnosis is went right out of my mind, is that I've lost my mind. Major depressive disorder, which sort of means I'm treatment resistant. My depression never really goes away. It just is in varying degrees. But when I'm depressed, I'm talking about serious depression, not I'm sad. And when I thought about that question, I was already in the depression hellhole, and it just made me a tad bit more depressed because I'm retired, I'm single, I have no money. I live on Social Security and a retirement check, so I'm better off than most. I do have a retirement check, but it's not a huge one. I'm still below poverty level, enough that I can get internet help. Therefore, I don't have a vacation to look forward to. I don't have things to look forward to like I'm going to go to a play or something, you know. Things like that, activities are not in my future. And those of you who are not financially challenged won't get this. I understand from saying this before. You don't get it. But those of you who do live on Social Security and maybe a little retirement check, you understand there's only so much money, and you're not going to be going on a 2-week vacation somewhere. You're not taking the cruise to Alaska. You're not going to Hawaii. You're not going to the next town. I don't have 3 activities that I'm looking forward to. Now, when I'm not severely depressed, that wouldn't bother me because, well, it does bother me that I can't take a vacation. Anne of Green Gables, the setting for Anne of Green Gables is Prince Edward Island in Canada. On my bucket list for decades has been to go visit Prince Edward Island. Will I ever get there in this lifetime? No, I won't. I won't get anywhere. I would love to go all over the United States. I'm from New Mexico. I live in Texas in the Panhandle. I'm from New Mexico. I love New Mexico. And also on my bucket list would be to have like an RV and go to every county in New Mexico and stay in that county until I'd seen every interesting thing, and then move to the next county until I had covered every county in New Mexico, and then go in Colorado and do the same thing. You know, everywhere has interesting things. I would love to do that, but the reality of my life is, no, the activities I really have looking forward to, which please me immensely, is having my grandkids with me. That's about it. I have some health issues that keep me from doing some other things. Let's just don't even go there. Number 12, favorite hot beverage in winter. I don't really like hot beverages. I've never tasted coffee. I like hot chocolate, but maybe once a year. However, I do drink hot spiced apple cider not real, the kind that comes in a little packet. And I put apple cider vinegar in it, which makes it taste different. But anyway, I do drink hot spiced apple cider with some apple cider vinegar with the mother in it. Oh, this is number 12. That was number 11. Number 12. If you woke up and there was snow, what would you do? I'd say, well, it snowed outside. Better find some coat and gloves and boots and things. Where I live, a lot of people don't realize Texas gets snow. Up in the Panhandle, we do. Where I live is the coldest spot in Texas. We do get snow. We can get a lot of snow on occasion. When I worked, I loved to clean off the cars. I worked 2 nights a week. I would work till 9 o'clock. And on those nights, if we had snow, I would get somebody to cover my phone for me, and I would bundle up before quitting time. And I would go take a broom and go out and sweep the snow off everybody's windshield and back window. I loved doing that. I really like to shovel snow. I think, and I like to pull weeds. I think it's the same way. It's because you can see that you've accomplished something. You know, it's very visible that you've done something. So if it snowed, I would say, I've got a snow. I live in an apartment, but I have a snow shovel. Can't say it. And if I wanted to, I'd go out and shovel the sidewalks, which I have on occasion. Because the apartment complex doesn't do it. They do sprinkle ice melt stuff, so maybe we won't fall down, but they don't shovel. Okay, that was the 12 questions. I'm not going to tag anybody. If you'd like to do this tag, feel free to do it. Oh, there's one other thing I wanted to tell you. I have a lot of new subs. I have to keep repeating myself. I don't watch the news because with my depression, I simply cannot handle it. I cannot. So I just don't watch the news. Occasionally I hear about something from somebody else, or when I'm doing YouTube, you know, I'll see things, but I don't seek out the news at all. So I don't see Good Morning America. But you know, the other day I said, did you know Julia Childs was a spy? First of all, who am I to say she was a spy? I should have said allegedly. As long as I worked at a library, that was sort of a known thing. But anyway, she and her husband, oh, I've forgotten his name. I wish I had a brain. Anyway, Julia Child and her husband, he was, he worked for the State Department. Oh gosh, I wish I had these facts straight for you. He worked for the State Department. They lived in France and I don't know where else in Europe. But anyway, during World War II, in secret documents that have now been unsealed, we know that both her husband and Julia Childs worked for the OSS in addition to their normal jobs. OSS was the predecessor to the CIA. That's why there is a rumor that they were spies. Anyway, why that's connected to the news, somebody told me on Good Morning America last week, they talked about a 3-part series that HBO has just put out about Julia Childs. A 3-part series. I would love to watch it. I don't think it's going to touch on the OSS thing. I think it's all going to be about her cooking, but I don't know because I don't have HBO. Otherwise, I would watch it. So those of you who have HBO, watch it and tell me all about it. I mean, I think it will be fantastic because she's just such an interesting character. And her husband himself is a very interesting person. But anyway, if you have, I think the first segment was March 30th, and there's 3 in this series. And since it's on HBO, I guess you have to have cable. I don't know about HBO. But anyway, if you have HBO, watch that about Julia Child. I think you'll enjoy it. Okay, that's about all I know for today. One of my subs sent me a recipe for a dessert. I am going to try to make that dessert sometime. I don't have all the ingredients right now to make it, but I will sooner or later. I will. And the woman who sent me the email about getting all new living room furniture, please send that email back to me. Honestly, I was delighted when I read it. I wanted to answer you, but I was just so sick at the time. I just couldn't do it. So send it back to me, please. Okay. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you guys being here, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye-bye. If I could have thumbs up, leave me a comment, say hey. All right, bye-bye.